I learned quickly how to be an advocate, and that's what caregivers need to learn. They need to know they have a voice, and they need to know that it's okay to speak up.
Yeah. Welcome back to the next episode of Built Local, Conversations with Community Leaders. I'm your host, Nick Bour, and looking forward to the next episode. This one, we do a lot of talking with community leaders, people building, making a difference in the local community. Really excited to have Beverly Randolph on with us today, who is the founder of the of Caregivers Connection, and you have a very individualized story and not only passion about helping, supporting, and being a resource for caregivers, but you've been a caregiver yourself. So welcome, Beverly, to the show.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So let's start with your story. Obviously begins because you've been a caregiver. It begins long before Caregiver Connections. What happened in your life that really made you realize that caregivers need someone that can support them and not only be a resource for caregivers, but also give them the tools that they feel can help get them through the day, the week, the month of being there for the person they're caring for?
Yeah, my story started when my husband, Phil, he came down with H1N1. He was in the hospital for 9 months. After those 9 months, he came home, and it was harder than driving to the hospital every day. His kidneys failed, so he was on dialysis. He used to walk 6 miles a day with his guide dog. He was blind. He came home needing a walker or a wheelchair. So I, after a few weeks, realized that I just couldn't do it without support.
Yeah.
I needed someone to lift me up because I couldn't talk to him because I didn't want him to feel bad because it wasn't his fault.
Well, of course.
So I looked for a group, and all I could find was Alzheimer's support groups, cancer support groups, which are wonderful groups. But I needed someone to care for the caregiver. Yeah. So I started one. Wow. It has reached far beyond what I ever thought possible and helped more people than I would ever imagine. And I do it because of love. I want to be a drop in the bucket to fill somebody's cup.
Because as you know, as a caregiver, your cup gets emptied very quickly.
Very quickly it gets depleted. Yeah. Yes.
And you want those caregivers to be able to feel like they are still making a difference and that they're important and they're making the help and giving the support to them that they know that they need to give to their person they're caring for.
Yes, and they make a difference and they're doing the best with what they have.
Yeah.
And what they do matters. It matters to the person they care for. It matters to other people that may see what they're doing and may become caregivers themselves.
Yeah.
It's such an important role that we're not always equipped to handle.
And everyone really just, if you look at it, anyone that understands even a little bit of what it's like to be a caregiver, they think, oh, well, okay, I need to dedicate the hours to being able to be that caregiver for that family member or friend or individual that needs my help. They don't think about the physical, emotional, all the toll that takes on the caregiver. And as you said, you wanted to be that resource to help the caregivers fill their cup. Mm-hmm. And I think it's amazing what you do because you obviously experienced it yourself, but you realize now through your unfortunate experience and your ex-husband's, deceased husband's yes. unfortunate experience that you're now helping caregivers continue to make a difference in the people they care for in their lives every day.
Yes, and I'm a caregiver for the second time.
Okay.
My mom moved in with us last year. She has dementia, and it's a different experience, but it's the same emotional toll. It's the same exhaustion, the same grieving for what was, grieving for the person she was, the person that I was, because you change. Your life is not the same. The person you were is not the same.
It's not the same. It's interesting. I have a personal experience, not to the extent that you think that being a caregiver, I was fortunate, like when we moved my mom in 3 years ago, and my mom unfortunately fell not long after she moved in, and we became caregivers, my wife and I, a lot faster than we ever thought we would be. Fortunately, my mom recovered, and she's still very independent now at this point.
That's good.
But there was a 3-month period where she was literally immobile, and it was like you said, you realize that not only physical and emotional toll, but what it takes and how it can change you in a relatively short period of time.
Yes, and
So-
some caregivers do it for decades,
Yeah.
that their person never recovers and just continually, slowly goes downhill, and
Yeah.
they need support. And there's not a whole lot of support out there.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So you mentioned your husband Phil that you became a caregiver for when he was battling H1N1. Looking back, what do you think the hardest moment was over those 8 months he was in the hospital?
Oh gosh, trying to juggle a full-time job, making sure I was at the hospital every night. So thankfully I worked at a job where I could juggle my schedule. So I would go in at 5 or 6 in the morning and leave at 1 or 2, drive an hour and a half to the hospital, and then stay till 8 or 9, go home, collapse, and start the whole thing over again. And then on Friday nights, I would go and spend the night in the waiting room and sleep there. So that way I could be there for doctors' rounds
For the morning.
for the morning. And I wrote everything. I learned quickly how to be an advocate. And that's what caregivers need to learn. They need to know they have a voice, and they need to know that it's okay to speak up.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of caregivers feel like if they speak up, they're talking for the person they're caregiving, and they don't want to do that all that. They want to feel like that person still has their own voice. I don't want to speak out of turn because I'm not them. And you're so right. Caregivers need to know that sometimes it is okay to speak up because you're like you said, you're
Yeah.
being that advocate.
Yeah, and we're raised to respect medical professionals, which is a good thing, but they do not always have the answers.
That's true.
If I would have listened to them and not spoke up, Phil would not have come home.
Yeah.
I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed them to not take him off life support, to get him an experimental medication.
Yeah.
I learned very quickly that if I had to be his voice because he was on a respirator for months and months.
Wow. That I can't even imagine the challenges and the emotional toll that took over, on you over that period of time, because, your emotions of that being the love of your life and all the struggles he's going through, and you just want to help him, but not knowing the best way to always do that.
Right. And being afraid you're making the wrong decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Caregiver guilt is also something, that you write about. And, why do you think so many caregivers struggle with that guilt? And what would you say to someone feeling that way today as either a caregiver or former caregiver of having that guilt?
I would say you did the best you could with what you had.
Okay.
You weren't trained to be a caregiver. It was thrust upon you in one way or another. That what you did out of love and out of respect for the person, and you can't go back. You can only move forward. And that's what I had to let go of, did I keep him alive when I should have let him go? And, Phil, I had 4 more years with Phil after he came home.
Wow.
Before he passed away. It was a hard 4 years, but I would do it again. And through that conversation with him, I found out that, yes, he wanted to be kept alive, but if it happened again, he would want to go because his body was so frail. And I think as caregivers, we just have to know that whatever we're doing, if we're doing it with love, with our best intentions, that there is no guilt. We've tried everything. There is no guilt. And when you have to leave your person to go to your own doctor's appointment, it's okay. Yeah. You have to take care of you. Yeah. You can't have guilt over that, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of the person that you're caring for.
Yeah, that's very true, and a very good way to look at it. That's, again, I think there's so many people that are caregivers, even some that aren't 24/7 caregivers, that don't even, they might not even consider themselves caregivers. I still feel that they need some of the support that you're talking about, and being able to not feel like I made the wrong decision or second guessing themselves, because like you said, they made the best decision at the time with the information they had and with what they felt was best.
Yeah, a big form of guilt is when someone has to put their loved one, in a care facility.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not safe for them to be at home.
Yeah.
But they still have the guilt. But you have to consider what's best for the person and what's best for yourself. You can't kill yourself taking care of someone else. If the best place for them is in a care facility, don't have guilt over that. It's okay.
It's interesting because, we do see that with some of the things we do with our clients in my business, is that we see people that are caregivers, and that is one of their biggest fears, is they have that guilt over thinking about putting them into a facility. And caregivers don't understand, because of the emotional and physical toll that can take on them, how much that could affect their longevity and their life.
Absolutely.
And when you put it in perspective, like you said, you got to do what's best for the participant or the person that needs the care. If it's what's best for them and they can't be safe at home, sometimes it's okay to say, look, we know this isn't ideal and this isn't your first choice, but this is what's best for you at this point. And it's okay for the caregiver to say that to themselves.
Absolutely.
And I can't imagine, with what you do, how many times you feel and hear that they don't feel that way, that they feel that guilt and that they're not doing what's best for them. They wish they could do more.
That's so true. A lot of people struggle.
Yeah.
Did I do enough? Should I put them in a home? Is it time?
Yeah.
When do I know when it's time?
You know this because you've experienced it yourself. Like you said, you're now a caregiver for a second time, different, but for mom now. And you feel that, people, you can make decisions that you feel that are best. And even if you look back in retrospect and you question, was that really the best? And did I do enough? Again, you did enough with what you thought you could do at the time. And you can't second guess yourself, because there's no right or wrong answer as a caregiver, because things change rapidly day in and day out.
Right. That is so true.
Yeah. Wow. So I feel like many caregivers, again, I've said this already, they don't even call themselves caregivers. They just think they're being a spouse or a daughter or a son or a friend. How do you help the people that maybe they're carrying more as they even feel, because they don't feel they're a caregiver? How do you help people recognize that? Because that's got to be a tough one that you've seen over and over again, that they're not even recognizing themselves as a caregiver, but they are.
If you are filling people's prescriptions, if you are taking them to medical appointments, if you are handling any of the medications, you are a caregiver. If you're caring for their needs, making sure they're fed, making sure they take their medications, you are their caregiver. And your roles as a spouse changed. My role as Phil's spouse changed. I was less his wife and more his caretaker. And it's hard because you go through all the grief of losing that person who was. And you just, even if your person lives in a care facility, you are still their caregiver, because you're still checking in on them. You're still making sure they're okay, that they have what they need.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people to think, well, your time is harder because they live at home, where mine isn't. It's this, you can't compare.
No. It's just different.
It is different. And every caregiver, every person that cares for someone with Alzheimer's, their experience is different because their people are different.
100%. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. So, you know, what do you feel you've learned about yourself through your own caregiving journey that's surprised you the most?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the thing that surprised me the most is that I had a voice and I was stronger than I ever thought humanly possible. I was always an introvert, never wanting to, I was afraid of my own shadow. And
Okay.
when he was in the hospital for 9 months, I learned that I had to speak up, that I had to have a voice, and that I could get through this.
Yeah.
And God carried me through it and helped me create a community that helps caregivers. And I'm so thankful for what I went through.
Yeah. Well, and not only, like you said, you mentioned you were an introvert. I mean, Beverly, look at you now. You're on a podcast.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought, right?
Yes, because that, if you would have seen me before the illness, that was not me.
Yeah.
But
Wow. Well, obviously, like you said, the people that is receiving care, they change just like the caregiver change, and
Yes.
you've seen and experienced that yourself, and you've probably seen it dozens of times through the resource and relationships you've built as founding the Caregiver Connections, because you do connect with so many people since you've started this. You know, one thing I didn't say, or I didn't ask, I guess, yet. When was Caregivers Connection? How long have you been around doing this?
well, I started in Hazlitt, where
Okay.
I lived
Okay.
at the time with Phil,
Okay.
and I ran that for 5 years.
Okay.
And I kept it going about a year after he died. And then I met my husband, Rob.
Okay.
And he lived out this way, so I moved out this way. Never expected to have another Caregivers Connection because I was no longer a caregiver.
Yeah.
But God just kept putting it in my heart. And so I talked to my church, Community Bible Church,
Okay.
and they were all on board. So Caregiver Connections has been in place since 2021.
Okay.
In Brighton.
So about 5 years, a little over 5 years now. Okay.
Yes, and I've met the most amazing people.
There really is some amazing people in this community.
Yes.
Wow. Well, you've built support groups, a newsletter, a podcast, books, an online community. What inspired you to turn your personal experience into not only a passion, but a mission to help others?
Love. I love caregivers. I think that they need someone to be their cheerleader.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they are on their own. Their family backs off because they're not caregivers at heart and they're not sure how to help. So they just choose to avoid.
Yeah.
And that happens so many times. And if I can be a safe landing place for even one caregiver and give them some encouragement and some hope and some love, that's where I want to be. That's what God placed in my heart.
That's got to make you feel like you are absolutely making a difference.
Some days not. Some days I wished I could do more.
That's still the caregiver inside you.
Yeah, yeah, I suppose so.
Okay. For someone watching today who feels completely overwhelmed, exhausted, and alone, what's the first step they can take to begin finding hope again?
Find a support group, whether it's Caregivers Connection or whether it's, I know if you can't make it to a support group, there are online support groups that you can go to. Because oftentimes it's hard for a caregiver to go to a support group. They can't find the time, they can't leave their person, which is what I find. That some people really want to come, they need the support, but they just can't leave their person.
Yeah.
And so there are online opportunities.
Okay. That's good to know, because you are correct. You know, some caregivers, they can't leave their person.
Right.
So faith seems to be a major part of your story. And how did faith sustain during the moments when doctors weren't sure Phil would survive? How did faith get you through that?
I do not think I could have made it through without faith. I knew that God was in control. And that's what I told the doctors. I said, you will not take him off life support. God is in control. And you will either do your job until Phil comes home to me or Phil goes home to God.
Yeah.
And I just felt that Phil was going to come home. You know, God just whispered to me that just keep fighting.
Well, it sounds like you knew it in your heart too, that
Yes.
Phil was going to come home.
Yes, yes. Yeah, if I would have ever thought that he wasn't coming home, maybe I wouldn't have pushed so hard, but I just felt in my bones that he would come home.
Yeah. Wow. So you've met countless caregivers over the years now. Is there one story that has stayed with you because it perfectly captures why caregivers matter and what they do makes such a huge difference?
There's a story
Okay.
that has helped me to push farther and do more. There was a person that came to my support group. He was not there very long, and he committed suicide. And so that story has stuck with me years later. And I just want caregivers to know they're not alone,
Yeah.
so that that never happens again. They matter, and someone loves them.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for sharing that. That I know that's not easy, and I'm sure you have several more that still touch you. Looking ahead, what do you think your dream, what impact do you want to continue to make and evolve around Caregivers Connection? And how can your community help support caregivers who often spend all their time caring for someone else, and as we said a few minutes ago, maybe not being able to leave their person?
I want to reach every single caregiver all over the world, whether it through my podcast or through my Facebook group. Just because they're not in Brighton doesn't mean they don't matter and that I don't care.
Yeah.
So I would like to reach every single caregiver wherever they're at in the world. And as far as community support, so many times as caregivers we hear, well, if you need anything, let us know.
Yeah.
Caregivers aren't going to ask because they feel like they have to do everything on their own.
Correct.
They don't want to be a burden to somebody.
Yeah.
So don't ask, what can I do for you? Say, hey, how about if I stay with your person for an hour so that you can go shopping, or you can go get your nails done, or you can go get your hair cut and not worry? How about if I pick you up dinner tonight? There's so many little things that people can do. Send an encouraging card.
Yeah.
Phone, call them and check on them, not their person.
Yeah. That's, I think that's a very good point. Caregivers are really never going to ask for help. And the reason why is because they're giving everything they have and more to the person they're caring for. And why would they want to ask someone to help them?
Yes.
That's so well said. Last question, if every caregiver in Michigan could hear just one message, one thing from you today, what would you want them to remember?
Take care of yourselves because you matter. You're important and you're loved.
Well, that's great, Beverly. And I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast and being with us today. You've got a couple books here. Do you want to share anything about what they mean, why you personally created them and wrote them?
Sure. Comfort and Care Caregivers Cookbook I created because caregivers do not have time. And it started as just a cookbook, but it became so much more. It's a resource book. It's a devotional book. It has hope, encouragement, self-care tips. And then one day when I was stirring dinner, I had the thought, I need to do a holiday edition. So Comfort and Care Holiday Edition just came out. on Amazon, and it is created for the grief that caregivers go through during the holidays, whether their person is still here or not. There's anticipatory grief, there's grieving the person they were, grieving the person their loved one was, the future they had thought they were going to have, but is not a reality now.
Yeah.
So I created that one to let people know that it's okay to scale the holidays down. It's okay to do it differently. Just because you're not doing it the same way does not mean it's not as impactful. And so there's a lot of tips and tricks and also self-care tips, devotionals.
I think that's great. You know, any caregivers out there that feel that they're alone, Caregivers Connections is definitely a resource, and I love the fact that you said just because if you're not here in Brighton, you still want to make them feel like they're loved and they're supported. So again, I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast. Again, this is another episode of Built Local, conversations with community leaders, and I'm your host, Nick Bour. Thanks so much, and until next time, take care.